What is going on? Welcome to this week's episode of the 1 Second of Strength podcast. I hope you're doing great wherever you're at. I'm always grateful you're spending a couple of your valuable seconds with me. I know in this world of so much going on, look, finding time to listen to this is not always the easiest thing. So I'm grateful you're here, grateful that we can grow together, learn together. And if you haven't done so already, please share this with one other person and go to wherever you're listening to this and leave a rating and review. That's really the only way that we can get the infamous algorithm to share this with more people. But today, I want to talk a little bit about that overwhelm, that burnout. You know, the reality is I found too many times in my life that I get to the end of the day and I'm tired and I'm exhausted and I'm feeling all of that, like, burnout is the word, but I'm feeling just overwhelmed and a feeling and a sense of emptiness. And it's because when I look back on the day, I feel like I'm no closer to where I wanted to get to. I've just spent my day just running on a hamster wheel and just going and going and going. And the reality is when life gets on autopilot like that, we look back at our day and we don't feel accomplished. And then we look forward to the next day and it feels exhausting because it feels like it's just going to be the exact same thing. And today's episode is really about that. It's really about overcoming these habits and these patterns that you might be feeling in your life so that you can make an intentional decision to rewrite tomorrow. So you can make an intentional decision to move closer to where you want to get to so that you can gain your energy back and progress in life. Because at the end of the day, life is about progress. And I always tell teenagers when I speak to them in schools is that we need to be careful of the I'll be's. I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I reach this goal. I'll be happy when I reach this dream. But the reality is that happiness is found in the progress. Happiness is found in the messy middle of life as we're progressing towards where we want to go. But too many times we let these decisions that we don't make, these unintentional habits, control our life. And at the end of the day, we get tired, we get exhausted. And so today I want to break that pattern in your life. I want to break that pattern if you are a teenager so that you can move forward and propel forward. And if you're an adult, you're a parent, I want to break that habit in you so that you can live happier, healthier days, accomplishing your goals, reaching your dreams, and feeling fulfilled so that when you hit the pillow at the end of the night, you go, man, that was a good day. Man, I did it. So here's the challenge that most people don't realize is that most people think that burnout is when you are overworked and overwhelmed. That is not really the case. Burnout is caused by the wrong work. Burnout is caused when we have a goal and we want to progress towards something. And that something isn't just necessarily like, hey, I want to do this with my job or what. Sometimes it is, right? Sometimes it's a passion. Sometimes it's like that. But the reality is it's not always that. Sometimes it's just progressing forward as a human, right? Sometimes it's going towards a goal. And when we have this dream, this vision for our identity and who we want to become, and we've got all of this other work and stuff that we have to do. And when we get too much of that, and the things that we have to do and don't really want to do, or maybe it's unintentional habits that we keep doing over and over and over again, in between that is burnout. That is where burnout really, really happens. And it's about living life without intention and everything goes on autopilot. And what happens is your brain is overwhelmed. Your brain is constantly choosing and deciding and deciding and deciding. And when we get to the end of the night, we're tired because our brain has been working all day long making decisions on things that we're not even really sure we're making decisions about. A very simple example of that is social media. If you spend an hour of your day, which is probably an understatement, right? An underestimated amount. But if we call it an hour of your day and you are scrolling Instagram or TikTok for an hour a day, every single time you swipe your thumb, you are making decisions. You're making decisions about the content. Do you like it? Do you not like it? You're making subconscious decisions about the person that you're seeing, about their hair, about their looks, about the way they dress, the way they talk. You're making subconscious decisions about the type of content they're making. You're making subconscious decisions about so many things that your brain in 1 hour of time is completely overwhelmed and exhausted. And so this is introducing stress into your life. And so we need to break those habits. And, it's really like a hamster wheel. We jump on a hamster wheel of life and we go through the same routines, the same reactions, the same escapes over and over and over and over again. And your brain just gets into this routine. Habits really are sometimes we choose them and sometimes we don't. But if we get into these habits that are repetitive in nature, and at the end of the day we just go, man, I just ran on a hamster wheel all day and I didn't get anywhere nearer to where I want to be or who I want to become, because we spent all that time scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And so if you feel stuck, it's probably because you're not progressing in your life. And it doesn't mean you have to know your life's calling, because you really don't. But it is about moving towards things that you're passionate about. And so that stuck feeling of that hamster wheel is really what we want to overcome. If we can step outside of that hamster wheel in just any way, then we're going to feel better about ourselves. And I'm not asking you to go all the way to Bright, and I'm not asking you to solve every world problem and break every bad habit or break every subconscious habit that you have, but can we be a little bit more aware? And this is where your 1 second of strength really comes into play. Can we really be just a little bit more aware of the unintentional habits that we're doing, so that we can replace them with something intentional that is going to progress us towards our goals, our dreams, the things that you want to accomplish in your life? And if you're listening to this podcast, I just believe that you care about your personal development. I believe that you care about self-love. I believe that you care about being intentional about your life, and you're trying to break out of maybe some old habits so that you can move forward. And so ask yourself a couple of questions. What do I do every day that keeps me exactly where I am? You think about that hamster wheel. Like, what is that pattern in your life that is keeping you a little bit stuck? What habit makes my day disappear? Is there something that you're doing that all of a sudden you're going, man, I spent 80% of my day doing something that is not helping me grow, instead of spending 80% of my day pushing towards my dreams and 20% of the day doing all the other stuff? Another question. What one habit is running your day for you, keeping you on autopilot, or making you feel exhausted at the end of the day? And I know the easy out on this is social media, and it might be social media, but it might not be social media, right? It might be something completely different. And then, is that habit moving you closer or further away from the person that you want to become? Because at the end of the day, when we think about goals and we think about growth and we think about all of that path that you are on to become the best version of you, it's really about who you are on the inside. What is your identity and what is it tied to? So is the habit that you are doing constantly and keeping you on autopilot, is it making you move closer or further away from the person you ultimately want to become? And then lastly, if you were to interrupt that pattern tomorrow, what intentional action would you take instead? And so the goal here is not to replace everything. It's to rewrite one habit, replace it with something new so that you can move forward. What is the trigger? When does it happen? And what can you do differently? Because here's something that most people don't realize about habits. Habits have memories. Habits remember times, they remember places, they remember scenarios, they remember situations. And your brain, when something happens in your life, your brain is going to default to something comfortable. And it might be, hey, I realize that every morning when I wake up, I reach for my phone first and I start scrolling. And now you're giving away your day to something else. Or it might be that I realize that every time somebody says something to me that stresses me out at work or in life, I grab my phone and I start scrolling social media. And I know social media is such the easy default answer to this, but the reality is most people struggle with this. In fact, I was talking with a parent one time, and she said, hey, this problem isn't just kids. When I'm having a really stressful day, I grab my phone to distract me so I don't have to deal with it for a while. So that might be your habit. That might not be your habit. But the reality is pay attention, because you'll notice that in certain times, in certain scenarios, in certain places, that is the time that you are subconsciously falling into the hamster wheel that is keeping you stuck in your life. So what is that habit? And I don't want you to remove it. I want you to replace it. We have to replace habits because we can't really break habits. And in Atomic Habits, that's what the book is about. It's about replacing habits instead of removing them, because it's really hard to remove them. So now, if something happens or something causes stress, instead of reaching for your phone, maybe your replacement habit is, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to take 5 deep breaths so that I can refocus back into what I need to do. Maybe that's the way you want to do it. But at the end of the day, what I hope happens is that you recognize that burnout isn't because you have too much work on your plate. And sometimes that is a problem, but the reality isn't that. It's that our brain is making so many decisions during the day that we feel exhausted. And all of those decisions and those subconscious patterns that we have in our life are keeping us just stuck. They're keeping us in the same place, going on the same hamster wheel, and we've got to get out of it, because your growth, your happiness, who you ultimately want to become is so important. And I believe wholeheartedly that you can become that person, but it will require you to intentionally break the habits that are unintentionally controlling your life. And when you choose to do that, when you choose to overcome those subconscious patterns that are keeping you stuck, you will see an exponential amount of growth that'll help you grow further and get further than you ever thought you could get. So take a moment today. What is the thing that is keeping you stuck? What is the thing that is keeping you in the same place? And if that habit was to disappear, or if you were to replace that habit with something new, how would your life change? That is the vision I want you to capture for your life, because whether you're a teenager, whether you're an adult, whether you're a parent, whether you are an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter who you are. At the end of the day, I want you to hit that pillow at night, excited for tomorrow, and grateful for the day you just had, because you moved your life forward. And if you can do that, and if you can find your 1 second of strength to help you do it throughout the day, recognizing those patterns, then you will be unrecognizable a month from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, and the growth that you have will be unbelievable. So I hope that helps you today, wherever you're at. Thank you for listening. Please leave a rating and review for the show. Share this with one other person. It might just be that one little unlock that they needed in their mind to move forward and grow and become the person that they want to become and change their life. So I hope this helps, and I'll leave you the same way I always leave you. Go find your 1 second of strength and be happy.